Let's talk about in this video how sugar actually affects your brain, because I need you to start taking your sugar intake a lot more seriously, especially if you're a high achiever. Because if you're constantly snacking on sugary, carby things all throughout the day, you are significantly wrecking up your blood sugar levels, you're wrecking up your dopamine levels, and then this is what's going to make it very difficult for you to be able to concentrate, for you to be able to be productive, and show up during your day in a very powerful way. And so you need to understand the science between how sugar affects your brain. You need to start changing a relationship around it and stay until the end, because I'm going to talk to you about how to completely shift your relationship up with sugar and start developing a lot more healthier, more powerful boundaries with sugar so that it doesn't have such a strong power and hold over you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Visley Natley. I'm a cognitive behavioral therapy certified naturopathic doctor, mindset mentor, and brain optimization coach. I am on a mission to help high achievers like you release their anxieties, crush their fears, and rise to their highest potential. I am obsessed with all things brain health, nervous system regulation, identity shifting work, subconscious rewiring, and mastering the mindset that is going to help you build the life of your dreams. This is your space if you're ready to stop playing small, reconnect with your power, and finally feel good in your body, clear in your mind, and aligned with your purpose. Around here, we go deep mentally, emotionally, and physically so that you can step into the most elevated, successful, and soul-fed version of yourself. It's time to maximize.
I have a little notepad here that I made with notes from the research that I did, because I don't want to memorize it, because I'm a human and these are too many things to memorize, and I didn't use a teleprompter or script to make this because I just want to have a casual convo with you. So let's start off by talking about how sugar significantly affects your brain. So first things first, if you feel like you have an unhealthy relationship with sugar, you might be addicted to it, you're constantly reaching for sugary foods, I will say part of this isn't fully your fault, okay? And this is because, but part of it also is, all right? Because it's your choices that have led you to this place. But part of it, what ends up happening is that your brain actually subconsciously prefers high fat foods, okay? And this is because when you think about our ancestors, right, like thousands and thousands of years ago, we loved foods that were high in fat, high in sugar, and they would activate our taste receptors, and our brain would just want more of it, because that type of food would equal to our survival, because glucose is your brain's primary source of energy. And what ends up happening is that once your brain has neural pathways and affinities for certain foods, it actually becomes harder for your brain to forget wanting that food. And I want you to even imagine it for yourself, right? Like, say you went on a vacation in Mexico and you had this all-you-can-eat buffet, and you had a lot of high-fat, high-sugar food. What ends up happening is that once you come back from that vacation, even just if it was a span of over 7 days, your brain craves that food more. You just have more cravings for junk food, and it becomes harder for you to go back to that way of healthy eating, because you've literally, over those span of few days, your brain just starts to have a higher affinity for wanting high-fat foods. And ultimately, it goes back down to the fact that as a species, we have evolved to love this kind of food, because these types of foods were just a great source of energy for us. Now, here are all the effed up ways that sugar starts to affect your brain health. Number one is that anytime you have something sugary, it increases your dopamine hormone, right? Your dopamine hormone is your reward hormone pathway. When you do drugs, it also increases your dopamine hormone, and when that effect of that dopamine starts to go down, you naturally crave more sugary foods, and then all of a sudden you're eating like another candy bar or another chocolate bar or whatever it is, because that dopamine has started to go down, and now your brain craves more of that dopamine. And this is how we get stuck in that addictive cycle of just wanting more sugar. Sugar also affects an area of the brain called the nucleus accumbens. This is the same area of the brain that's also affected and lights up when you do drugs like cocaine and heroin. So sugar is actually a drug. It really is a drug. And the most effed up part about this is that sugar isn't freaking everything. Literally everything. Look at a ketchup bottle. It has 4 grams of sugar per tablespoon. I'm just like, why? Why is this needed? Sugar's in everything. It's in our breads. It's in our cereals. It's in literally everything that we eat. And it's because these corporations, these food corporations, do you think they care about you? No, they care about selling the product. And how are they going to sell the product if they make it effing addictive for our brains? That's it. right? And so how are they going to make it addictive for our brains? They're going to add sugar into it. They're going to make sure that when we eat this thing, there's certain areas of our brain that are going to light up, and it's going to make our brain go like, ooh, we love it. Give me some more. Give me some more sugar, mama. Like, give it to me, right? So you need to really start to see sugar as dangerous as that, as a drug. And I think that when we just start to take sugar that seriously, that you then start to change up your relationship with it, and really take that relationship you have with it much more seriously when you start to actually see it like a drug in your life. Sugar would also increase inflammation in your entire body, and what ends up happening is that if you eat too much sugar, sugar will actually go and bind to other things and molecules in your body, and they'll create something called AGEs, called advanced glycation end products. And if we have more of these AGEs, we'll actually get way more inflammation in our body, because excess sugar, right, doesn't go anywhere. It'll go and wreak havoc on all these other systems in our bodies, because now that sugar is being bound to it. Sugar also decreases something called BDNF in our brain, right? So BDNF is responsible for our brain's ability to be able to differentiate, to be able to build new neurons and neural circuits and pathways. And so if you have lowered BDNF, it actually decreases the brain's ability to differentiate and build new pathways. So when you think about, right, you wanting to learn new things, do new things, when you think about your brain growing and evolving, sugar actually prevents your brain from doing that, and especially excess sugar. And really, sugar just has such a big impact and effect on our reward system and pathways. And other things like socializing, drugs, sexual behavior can also have this big of effect and impact. Because sugar releases that dopamine, what's going to happen is that your brain is just going to want to crave it more and more. What's interesting, right, is that like broccoli doesn't increase our dopamine, which is probably why, especially like kids, they don't want to eat broccoli. We're like, we don't want to eat broccoli, and you don't have cravings for broccoli because broccoli doesn't release our dopamine. So you have to understand your brain is like a dopamine loving machine, and anything that increases your dopamine, and if your brain starts to see things that increase your dopamine, your brain will immediately want those things right away. Okay. And so also keep in mind too is that your brain is evolved to detect new foods, right? Because the more that your brain just wants that newness, it means that your brain thinks that you're just getting more variety in your diet. This is also what can be really effed up about our dopamine system, right, is that anytime we do new things, we do release that sense of like dopamine, right? When you watch new videos on TikTok, when you try new foods and things like that. And so your brain is constantly craving that like newness, because newness, especially in terms of food, usually indicates to your brain that you're getting more variety in your diet, even though it isn't like the healthiest variety, right? And so sugar once in a while is okay, but what's happening is that you're not eating it once in a while. I know you're not. You're having sugar way more often than that. And so the recommendation that they give of sugar is 25 grams a day, which equals to about 6 teaspoons. Teaspoons, not tablespoons. I wish I actually had a tablespoon with me so you could see the difference. A teaspoon is 1/3 of a tablespoon. Okay. And so if it's six teaspoons, that is 2 tablespoons essentially of sugar that you're allowed. Most Canadians, this is a Canadian fact because I'm Canadian, all right? But I'm sure it's probably similar in America. Or actually, oh, what am I kidding? It's probably way more in America. I'm sorry, Americans, but it's probably way more in America. Most Canadians get about 20 teaspoons, which is about 85 grams. So almost 3 times more, a little bit more than 3 times more the recommended amount of sugar. And again, makes so much sense, right? Because sugar is in everything. And it's hard to find foods without sugar. So you really have to get smart at reading the labels. Next time you go to the grocery store and you're buying anything packaged, just take a look at how much sugar is in it, right? And you'll be so surprised at how many things you pick up and how much sugar you are getting in your diet. I probably need to look at this as well, because as I'm thinking about it, I feel like I'm getting sneaky forms of sugar that I don't even know about in my diet. With that being said, so just to sum up like the research stuff, again, these are very real brain changes that are happening to you that sugar is affecting and impacting. So you seriously need to take your relationship with sugar a lot more seriously than you are now. So if you're just in this place where it's just like, okay, sick, thanks for sharing that. Now, what the F do I do about this? Like, I'm addicted to sugar, or I have sugar cravings all the time. Here are some things that you can do to really decrease those cravings. Number one is increase your protein and healthy fat. Okay, I talk about protein so much, but it's because you're not getting enough of it in your diet. You need to get a minimum of 25 to 30 grams of protein with your meals. You need to make sure you're getting enough healthy fats. And honestly, if you're able to get enough protein and healthy fats with your meals, you will notice your sugar cravings go down significantly. I just had a follow up visit with one of my new patients recently, and she used to have extremely severe sugar cravings. She's also a vegetarian, so she wasn't getting enough protein. I told her to increase her protein, her sugar cravings gone. Okay. We are working on other things with her as well, but that was one of the primary things she came in to see me with, and now they're all gone. Now, that was a very simple case. It isn't always that simple with everybody, but with her it was, and just adding that protein just really made a big difference. So 25 to 30 grams of protein can make a big difference. Number two thing is that you need to have some sort of food rules in your life. I know a lot of people are against food rules because they're just like, restriction, da da da. But like honestly, our food is just so addictive and sugar is so addictive that you need to have some sort of food rule with it, right? So, for example, do you do cocaine? Do you have any rules around cocaine? If you do cocaine, do you snort cocaine at 1 p.m. on a Sunday? No. Well, I hope you don't. And if you do, probably talk to someone, get some help because you have rules around drugs. And your rules are probably like, I don't do them, right? And you have rules around this stuff because you know how addictive and awful it is for your brain and your body. So you need to start seeing these high sugar, high fat foods in that same way. Because if you don't have any sort of rules around them, you are then it's gonna be very difficult for you to control yourself around these foods, right? So maybe if you're going to a birthday party, it's like the rule is that I'm allowed to have like half a piece of chocolate cake at the end, right? And the rule is that I'm going to make sure I'm going to have some proteins and healthy fats and some veggies, and opt for like really healthy foods there. Okay. Or the rule is that like you're going to have 2 pieces of dark chocolate at the end of the night and that's the only sugar that you have. If I want to have any sort of sugar, I try to limit it to like something very small after dinner, and that's my rule. So it'll be like a date or a piece of dark chocolate. Or if I'm feeling really indulgent, maybe I'll go to a bakery like maybe once a week, right? Max, no more than that. But if I'm craving sugar, because sometimes I'll eat lunch and I'll be like, something sweet would be so nice. I'll have some fruit, right? But I won't have anything that's going to be extremely sugary or processed that's going to raise my blood sugar levels up, right? Like you're not going to see me going to a bakery and buying a treat in the middle of my day. And if I am, I'm definitely stressed out. Someone check in on me. If you see me at a bakery in Toronto somewhere and it's 1 p.m. on like a Wednesday, just check in to see how I'm doing because I'm probably not doing well. That is the only reason I would go to a bakery. And this brings me to my third point is that if you want to manage sugar cravings well, you have to learn how to manage your stress well. Because a lot of us, we crave sugar. One, maybe you're doing like a boring task. You're doing something really boring at work and all of a sudden you want some sort of like a dopamine hit. Or two, you are just stressed the F out and you have no way of actually regulating your emotions. You have no way of regulating stress. And as a result of that, you end up going towards these sugary snacks and treats, which actually end up making you feel way worse instead of making you feel better, right? You'll get that dopamine hit for about like 5 minutes and then you're just like, and then that sinking feeling of like, ugh, what did I just do? I've been there, done that. So I totally relate to that. Okay. So, honestly, even just following these 3 simple rules will make a really big difference in your ability to regulate these sugar cravings and manage them in such a powerful way. Especially if you're just like constantly trying to get these like sugar hits, because long term, it is going to have an extremely detrimental impact on your brain health. If you want personalized and one-on-one support with this, I would be happy to help you. This for the month of May, so just a couple of days left, I'm doing a 2-for-1 coaching call. So this is where when you opt into one 60-minute coaching call, you get a second one completely free, so you can use the link in my bio to learn more about it. And yeah, you got this. I'm rooting for you, cheering for you. Keep in mind that if you are severely like addicted to sugar or you're really craving it all the time, give your brain some time to relearn new pathways, right? The sugar craving addiction didn't just come on overnight. So it's going to take your brain a couple of weeks to get over it and through it. So just focus on showing up for yourself every single day. And over time, your brain will learn a new way of being.